Hello, everyone. My name is Denise White, and I'm the host of the Coffee in the Green Room podcast. Here in Coffee in the Green Room, we have those conversations you don't have on stage. The best conversations you can have are in the green room, and that's what we're doing here today. I am so excited to have Gary Coxe here with me today. Hi, Gary. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me with you. This is going to be fun. Looking
Oh
forward
my
to
God.
it.
I'm so excited. So, Gary, for my audience, can you just give them a brief snippet of who you are?
I am a business and life strategist. I don't want to sound egotistical, but I'm known for doing in an hour what therapists or business consultants can't do in a year. I've been fortunate to be on Dr. Phil's show, The Doctors, for like 3 years, showing people how to rewire the way they think. And we all know that to have more success in life, no matter how we define success, it really stems from how we think. But how do we really change our thought process? How do we do it quickly? What does it really mean to have the right mindset? What is mindset? So that's the kind of cool stuff that I love doing.
That's awesome. I mean, there's so much talk about mindset right now. Like everywhere you go, oh,
Yeah.
how's your mindset? How's your energy? Doing all of this. So, how did you start that work?
Well, I have a crazy story, and the story was when I was younger. I was very fortunate, Deneen, to start a business when I was 11. I started my second
Wow.
business at 15. Shortly after that, I was making over $100,000 a year, so that was pretty cool. Got
Wow.
married, my wife and I, we had a baby, and life changed very, very quickly. Later on, she tells me that that baby really isn't mine. So that was the beginning of a lot of pain in my life.
Yeah.
Then, in a time frame of all this, my father and my grandfather and stepfather died of cancer. My uncle, literally like 10 miles from here, got killed in a plane crash.
Oh my
And then
goodness.
I get a phone call from my mother to let me know my father had just been shot point blank in his chest and drowned in his own blood.
Oh my
So
goodness.
all this by the time I was 21 years old. And then I unfortunately was born and raised in a cult. So when I left the cult, they are programmed, so-called friends and family are programmed to shun you for life and treat you as if you're dead. So I had that to deal with. That put me in a mental tailspin, put me $350,000 in debt. I just lost everything.
Wow.
So I've been very, very intrigued with the human mind. I know before I had all these losses, my mind was so clear and clean and I could do anything. And then after that, it's like, man, anything I touched, if it was a little bit of negativity to it, I'd like cave in. And I realized there was a difference. And the difference was my experiences and what I attached to those experiences. So I became obsessed, becoming my own doctor and my own patient, if you will. And because of that obsession, I was able to figure out, okay, how do I get out of this quickly? How do I find the purpose, the why, the this, the that? How do I change my thought process? And then I am obsessed with doing things faster. How can I do this faster? And when I was in the jewelry business, that's what I started doing, making so much money as a teenager. We would
Wow.
fix like gold chains. And it would take 10 minutes to fix a gold chain. And I got obsessed with thinking, okay, why can't it be done in 8 minutes? What about 6 minutes? What about 4 minutes with the exact same quality or maybe better? So I came up with that. Then I said, okay, as a pilot, I figured out, okay, why does it take so long for somebody to learn to fly? Could we do it quicker? So I came up with this process where I could teach somebody who's never flown an airplane. They'd land and take off an airplane on their own in an hour and a half to 2 hours. So I got attention from Inside Edition on that. And before you know it, I started getting all this media attention. And then I just got into deeper stuff, somebody who's had a major tragedy, a rape, loss of a loved one, massive divorce, financial battles, or whatever. How do we get through that? And that's how this all stemmed. And once I started getting on these TV shows, I started getting more and more and more. And that brings me to the programs that I do today.
Wow. So tell me a
Hope
little
it didn't
bit,
depress
how do
you too
you?
much. Maybe it inspired you, then depressed you.
No. You know what the thing is? I think we all have stories, and if anyone had the right to be depressed and devastated, it's you. All that tragedy in such a concentrated time, but you took
Yeah,
all of
yeah.
that and you found a way to not only help yourself but help so many other people. And like I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, I work with a lot of creatives, and so many times instead of
Sure.
trying to heal that hurt, what
Yeah.
they do is they pull it out every once in a while as like a token. Hey, look, this is what I've gone through. Instead of healing it, they use it as a token.
Yeah.
And like a lot of actors will use
Right.
that
A
pain.
badge of honor.
Yeah, like, yeah, exactly. It's a badge of honor. And then a lot of actors will just keep poking the pain whenever they need to conjure up some kind of emotion. But healing the
Right.
emotion actually makes you stronger, because something I learned a long time ago is, like, if you break a bone, the part where it's been healed is actually stronger than the rest of the bone. And that
Yeah.
sounds like that's
Yeah.
something that you're helping people accomplish, which is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's hard when we go through this crap to go through it.
Hmm.
There's a song which is not quite accurate. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, but that's only if you allow it, because what
Yeah.
doesn't kill you can make you an alcoholic or get you to commit suicide. But if you
Yes.
allow it, so that's an attitude.
Yeah.
And one of the things that, no matter how you feel, positive or negative, if you're high as a kite about something excited, that's an attitude that can
Yeah.
change. If you're
Yep.
discouraged and you don't feel like moving forward, that's an attitude as well. There's always two sides to a coin, two sides to a piece of bread, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a choice. And I think so many times people don't realize that it's a choice, because that's not something we're taught
Yeah.
very much. We're not taught that your
Right,
emotions are a
right.
choice. Like growing up, I'm
Yeah.
very emotional, and I've been doing a lot of mindset work and like really healing a lot of hurts from the past. So like for
Uh-huh.
me, learning how to harness my emotions and use them for my good has been something that has been very
Right.
helpful. So it's amazing the
Sure.
work that you're doing. So tell me a little bit more about like I know you have a lot of different programs, and also how do you work with people? Like tell me if you can, I'm not asking you for proprietary information, but like how do you walk
No,
someone
that's
through that
fine.
process? Just like a brief and I know it's a very complex question.
No, 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 it is. It is a good question though, but I'll try to uncomplex it a little bit. So let's say, like when I would do these TV shows for Dr. Phil's show, The Doctors, the producer would call me up and they'd say, okay, here's a specific case that we have.
Mhm.
Or somebody would talk to me and say, look, we've got somebody who's got this business and they can't move forward because of this or that. So one particular case that stands in mind was a lady who was in her 30s, married, and her husband in his 30s had a heart attack and died. So what I do then is I first do an assessment. I need to find out where you're at. So my assessment typically involves a phone call with somebody on my team or sometimes myself. And I'm in that assessment, I'm looking for beliefs, thought processes, patterns, and I find out, is that something that I can work with? Is there one specific theme that I'm finding that just totally blocks them? This particular girl I had in mind that I was sharing with you her story, her thing was she could not take her ring off her finger, because by taking her ring off her finger, it represented to her that I don't love him anymore. And she has this belief that the more you love, the more you hurt.
Oh.
So that is a misassociation. So
Mhm.
now, if she believes the more you love, the more you hurt, I want to prove to him that I love him. So to do that, I must hurt more. Now, that's a dangerous belief, which is a belief that many people would have. I mean, if you didn't have something like that, you'd just be able to move on that quickly. And
Yeah.
life doesn't work quite that way.
Yeah.
So the goal is figure out what was the thought processes that kept that ring on. That was the belief. The belief was, if I take this off, it's a sign in her mind that I love him less.
Yeah.
Why would I take it off? So she kept it on. And also, to show that I love him, I hurt more. So then
Mhm.
that caused her to gain 60 pounds. So my goal was, when I met her for the show, my goal, she hadn't had, it's been, I think she was in therapy, I'm guessing I'm maybe a year and a half. So that ring has been on a year and a half. She's gained 60 pounds. So my goal, and she's been in therapy, no one's helped her. My goal is, in one session before the show, I want that ring off her finger.
Wow.
And in one session, the ring was off her finger, and she showed that on the show. So
Wow.
change, I think we cheat ourselves thinking that change can happen quickly. I mean, to give you an illustration, let's say, and I've invited you guys to fly in the helicopter with
Yeah.
me. And so let's say that you have a helicopter, we're going to do a 1 mile race, and I have a bicycle.
Yeah.
Who's going to win?
I'm
You're
gonna say
going
the
to win, right?
helicopter.
So, all right. So I catch up to you and I say, okay, you give me the helicopter. Let's go 10 miles, but this time you've got the jet. And now we're going to go, let's go further. We're going to go 100 miles. Who's going to win? You're going to win. What's
Yeah.
the point? There's always a faster, smarter way to do things. And especially for entrepreneurs, there's smarter ways to condense a year's salary in one event or one day.
Mhm.
And I'm always obsessed to figure out what's the smarter way, the smarter way, the smarter way. And no matter how well I'm doing, I'm always trying to figure out, is there still yet a smarter way? And when we have that kind of mentality, it just adds a little bit more fun in what we're doing. Sometimes it can be a little frustrating because when you figure out the smarter way, you go, gosh, why didn't I figure this out earlier? But
Yeah.
that's part of the journey.
Yeah. And one of our mentors talks about that too, Myron Golden. He talks about like get rich quick. Well, why wouldn't you want to get rich quick? Why would you want to get rich slowly? So it's kind of the same mentality. Like we like to
Absolutely.
say to people, you cut a check for speed. So it sounds like you're
Yes.
helping people like cut mental checks for speed, like you're accelerating their
Oh,
results.
absolutely. And when you value what you offer, people say, well, Gary, why do you spend, whatever, 3, 4, whatever $1,000s on a jet, and you spend all this time in, doing whatever you're doing and flying around? It's a lot quicker.
Yeah,
People often say,
exactly.
well, in fact, we're just setting up a lease for a jet right now. And the owner of the jet says, I was just telling you, we're going to go to Vegas.
Yeah.
And the owner says, well, why would you spend all this money? It's like, it's a lot of money. It's tens of thousands.
Yeah.
And I said to him, because this is what we do. Our time is very valuable. I mean,
Yeah.
so you want to get to the point, and let's say somebody listening to this, well, Gary, I don't have, $10,000 or $3,000 to spend an hour on a jet. What do? I still want people to get into this mentality that their
Yeah.
time is so valuable.
Yeah.
So here's a simple example that doesn't cost a lot of money. Let's say there's an entrepreneur that on a regular basis, they take their kids to school, or they have a specific errand, or they drive to the airport to go commercially.
Yeah.
Take the money that you have and have Uber drive you there when you normally don't use Uber. So don't say,
Yeah.
well, I do that all that. No, when you normally don't use Uber, get a little uncomfortable with a new process, and or pay Uber to take you and the kids to school, and you'll see how much attention you give your kids, because
Yeah.
you can't think clearly 100% when you're driving. You can't do it. There's a
Yeah. You
reason
can't.
why people, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, there's little things that you can do now to create these patterns. You don't have to be a billionaire to do the things that billionaires do.
Yeah.
You'll just do them in a lot smaller portions.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. When you get used to paying people for people, like there are people in the world who get paid for their time, and there are people who get paid for their creativity. And if you're an entrepreneur, you should
Sure.
definitely be paying people to clean your house, do like all of these things, because your time is best spent
100%.
doing things that are more important to not
Yeah, yeah.
more important to move things forward.
Sure, sure. And the thing is most entrepreneurs, when we start business, we typically have a lot more time than we do capital. So what
Yeah.
happens is many times we do everything on our own. And here's another, not to switch gears on you if you don't mind, but here's what happens is often, because we have more time than capital, we do so much on our own to build things up till we can get to the point where we can hire more people. Then we
Yeah.
buy into this belief, if you want it done right, do it yourself. And that's the
Yeah.
worst belief you can buy into as an entrepreneur, because you'll never grow doing everything by yourself. So you
Yeah.
now have programmed yourself to do everything yourself. And now you have a hard time letting go because you're afraid they're going to make a mistake. Well, hey, comes the real reality of it. They're going to make a mistake. If you can't learn to believe that people are going to make mistakes when you let them go, then you're going to stay doing everything on your own.
Yeah, it's true. It's very true. So let's switch gears just for a second, because I am in the entertainment industry as well as working with entrepreneurs. What was it like working with Dr. Phil and being on the Doctors? Like, that's kind of like a big fangirl kind of thing for me. Like, pretty cool.
Well, it was a great run for me. We had to convince the producers that I could do what I could do, which was kind of unusual for me because it was all on TV on other shows. So the producers would challenge me. I said, okay, fine. I went out there. They brought Dr. Jen, who is the head correspondent for NBC News, head correspondent. And I reprogrammed her like really, like, there's no hypnosis in this. And the moment they saw that, they actually offered me a contract to get my own show. It's called a holding agreement. So that was cool. And I love doing live TV. It's so much fun. There's the excitement of, ready, action, take, and the whole fun and the cameras and all the sizzle and the energy. Love doing live TV. But yeah, you meet a lot of people. A great industry. I love it. I love it.
That's awesome. So something I like to ask people on the podcast is this. What are you most proud of?
My most proud of is not committing suicide over that cult. Seriously, and moving on and getting to turn it around. Yeah,
That's
by
awesome.
far. That was
I love
a
that.
that was a that's a major challenge. That's getting through that is like my wife telling me my baby's not mine and my father being murdered is a cakewalk. And I
Yeah.
hate to say that, but it's a cakewalk compared to what it would take or have taken me to get out and recover emotionally from that nonsense. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty challenging.
I can understand that. I went through not exactly the same situation, but I went through a very similar situation and it literally it almost took me out as well. Like I remember I went through a dark
Yeah,
night of the soul for like months and like I didn't get out of bed for
yeah.
like a week. And then I was like, no, you know what? This is no. And I didn't have the rapid recovery that you did, but I definitely, that's not, I think a lot of people can understand that. I think there are
Oh
more
yeah,
people
yeah.
out there
Because
that can
you know,
understand than can't.
100%, because we all have pain. It may be a different
Yeah.
pain, but pain is pain is pain. You know, whether
Yeah.
whether my pain is caused from my father being murdered or your pain's caused from a divorce or a loss of
Mhm.
a job or whatever, pain is pain is pain.
Yeah.
No
Yep.
question.
Awesome. All right. So another question I like to ask on the podcast, and this is like one of my favorite things because I have a really strong why. So
Yeah.
what is the legacy you want to leave? After you pass away, what do you want people to say about Gary Coxe?
Well, I don't know. I'd keep it relatively simple is just don't give up. It's so easy to want to give up. I mean, I know it sounds so simple and so forth, but I mean, how many people listening to this have ever thought about giving up? Who hasn't, right? And
Yeah.
it's so easy to do. And I think because of that, people don't put enough time and energy in managing their emotional health.
Yeah.
And I think that is so important for us to do. There's things that I do on a regular basis to manage my emotional health. And if you
Yeah.
don't, then you don't have the tools to fight off or ward off the junk that comes at us.
Yeah. That's true. So what if someone is thinking of giving up? What is one thing that you do when you're like, okay, I'm done, but nope, I can't be done. I have to keep going. What is one thing that you would recommend people start doing?
Well, that's a loaded question because everybody's different. So
Hmm.
I'll get 10 people asking me the same question. I'll answer them differently based on the person's value and belief system.
Yeah.
So, for example, one of the things that put people in that type of mentality is they may not, or they may be isolating themselves from a good core, close group of people.
Hmm.
That's really important.
Yeah.
So when I left the cult, I lost that core of people. And that was the danger zone that I was in. So now all my life I've had all these so-called friends and family, and like literally with a decision, one decision, it's gone.
Yeah.
So one of my goals, and I share this because it does not happen overnight. You just don't
Yeah.
find a friend and say, "Look, I've just met you. You're in my core loop and you're going to be here forever." You just don't do that. You need to
Yeah.
have boundaries. So
Yeah.
you need to have litmus tests. I have litmus tests as to
Yeah.
who I want in my close camp, and I think we all do, right?
Yeah.
So that was literally the number one goal I had is okay, I need a new group of friends. So as I would go out and I would meet people, I'm looking for that. You know, I don't go up and say, "Hey, I'm looking for close friends." I'm just looking and
Yeah.
eyeballing certain people that I want in my camp. And that doesn't happen overnight. That can
No.
literally take years to do.
Yeah.
And so that is very important. So if you don't have that now, when's the best time to plant a 20-year-old tree, right? 20
Yeah.
years ago. When's the next best time? Right now. All right. So, with that being said, I encourage you, if you don't feel that you have a tight camp or loop of people, and some of them that you do have are toxic, it's time to get rid of them because what's going to happen is long-term relationships are people who encourage you, not discourage you or encourage you to do things against your value and belief system like drugs or smoking or, illicit behavior and so forth. So I know right away who my true friends are when, if I'm hanging around and I say, I really, this is not part of my diet. Oh, come on, Gary, break your diet. Whoa, 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 whoa. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking
Yeah.
for somebody to say, kudos for you for being as healthy as you are and having that discipline. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
That's the long-term part of the litmus test that
Yeah.
I'm looking for. So, those are things that are really, really important. And I think a lot of people don't make that maybe a priority as they should.
Very good point. Because I think, especially in a social media world, people
Oh,
are looking for likes, they're looking for hearts, they're looking for all these things.
it's
And so many
destructive.
times people think that their friends on social media are their friends.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, they're just people that put a heart on what you're doing. So I think
I
that's really
think,
important, like
yeah,
developing those
yeah. I
relationships
think
and having
social
boundaries.
media is probably one of the most destructive things that we have on this planet right now, because when you're too young to understand what self-image is about, and you look at the world and perceive the world that's the way it really is,
Yeah.
it puts you in a very insular emotional or a mental position. Not
Yeah.
good. I mean, if it does it for adults, and we're willing to admit that, imagine what it does to an impressionable 8-year-old, right?
I just thank God every day that I grew up in a world pre-social media, because I can't imagine
Right?
the
You know
pressure
the
that these
difference,
kids are
yeah.
feeling right now. Even adults
Yeah, I
feel the
mean,
pressure. I can't imagine.
I remember as kids, all kids throw baseballs and footballs and hopscotch outside. I live in a gated community. There are no kids in the street. I never see, once in a while, I'll see a kid on the street on a little electric bicycle type of thing or scooter. But that's it. There's no such thing as let's play ball.
And yeah, we spent half our time in Pennsylvania, half our time in Florida. And at our house in Pennsylvania, there are two kids that hang out outside all the time. And we think, okay, their parents are old school, but we're like,
Yeah.
also, why aren't they playing Fortnite? Like, why aren't they playing Roblox? Like, why
Right?
are they out? Like, what's wrong? And it's so
Yeah.
weird because my mom would send me out of the house. You come home when the lights are on, when the street lights come on, and the kids don't.
Yeah.
But the thing is too, is that they're also missing those relationships that were built. Like the kids that I used to play kickball with in my street before the street lights came on, like I'm still friends with them 40, almost 50 years later.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
So,
awesome. How
yep.
cool is that?
Yeah, it is.
That's the way it should be.
Yep. Awesome. All right, Gary, I know your time is limited, so let me just ask you one more question.
We're good. We're
Where
good.
can people find you? Like if people want to like find you to work with you or something like that, where would they find you?
They can find me at 40,000 feet. No, I'm just kidding. um, we have for especially for the entrepreneurs that want to really, play the game a lot faster. We've got a new program coming out. In fact, we just created the link on it. It's Profitable Business Pilot Plan, profitablebusinesspilotplan.com. And I show people how to create their business plan to make it profitable very quickly, and the processes needed and involved in doing that. And of course, they can go to my website, Gary Coxe with the E. I'm on all social media, Gary Coxe, GaryCoxe.com.
Awesome. Well, this has been an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for being here. And I would love to do this again sometime.
I'm game. You say when. I
Awesome.
appreciate your time as
Thank you.
well.
Thank you so much, Gary. All right. So if you're watching this episode, this is what I want you to do. I want you to click subscribe on the Coffee in the Green Room podcast so that you can follow us along. I have amazing entrepreneurs like Gary, and I have quite an amazing lineup as well coming up. So make sure you hit subscribe on Coffee in the Green Room podcast.com, and we will see you on our next podcast. Thank you so much.